Hey guys, welcome back to Reverse 1999. In today's video, I've had a ton of people ask me my thoughts on the future banners, so I'm doing a video covering the characters that I think are worth saving for. I'm going to start it off like I like to do with a TLDR of my thoughts and what I will be doing personally, and then I'm going to go through every banner, talk about the value, because all of these banners do have their own individual value, whether it be for the 5 stars or something like that. So I want to talk about all of them, but before we get into that, obviously, big shout out to Pride Win. We are on Pride Win here, where they've got the whole scene banners that released. But first of all, I want to jump into characters and talk about the two main ones that I think are quote-unquote must-pull banners, being that they are the most meta characters based on what we know from CN so far. But as always, guys, the most important banner to pull for is the character that you like, because the game is about fun, yada yada yada. Disclaimers out of the way. No raging comments. Let's get into it. So 1.2 is the patch that I personally think has the double must pulls, or the best value characters. The two characters that we have in this patch are going to be, where do we go? We got Changeling, and where's the other one? Tooth Fairy. So we'll start off with Tooth Fairy and go through Tooth Fairy's kit. Now, I'm not going to just sit here and read the whole kit. I'd rather just give a more summarized type version of it. So with Tooth Fairy, she's going to help your crit damage dealers. This confusion debuff reduces their crit resist, allows you to land those crits more reliably, and then she has a heal on top of that, which has a higher crit rate, meaning better value. So she's just a really good sustaining unit, but then on top of that, she also has the baby tooth, which is going to further reduce critical resistance and critical defense through her passives in insight upgrades. Basically, she is the meta healer in CN. It's very splashable, usable in just about any team, but also really, really nice for those crit-based characters that want to rely on crit damage, but in general, best splashable healer in the game in the current state of CN, coming in 1.2. The other one is Changeling, like I said. Now, Changeling is huge, but you kind of need Sotheby to make her work because you need that poisoning. Now, in 1.4, there is a 5-star character that can be in your supportive role, and you can bring a different healer than Sotheby, and you can make the poison team work. But for 1.2, you really want Sotheby in a team with her to make this work, and then she can be an absolute monster. She just has, if we look at this ability here, at a single card, now normally the highest multiplier you see on a single card is around 200%. Yes, some characters do have different conditions that make them hit a bit harder, but when we look at this one being 180% reality damage, if the enemy has poison, it's 40% more, and then if they've got additional stacks of poison, it can go up to an extra 40% more, so you can end up with a 260 multiplier on a single card attack, a single incantation, 1-star attack. That is pretty nice. So we got some pretty high damage multipliers on that one. But then, of course, we also have some AoE damage to deal with those annoying things. And if they are under some negative effects, essentially, you get additional damage, which is nice. Always nice to have additional damage multipliers. And then we basically just play around with the poison. Her insights give her extra ways to apply the poison as well. And you get it. She's going to do the extra poisoning as well. And then we have Sotheby in the team doing the poisons, allowing her to proc the extra, and then Sotheby has extra to explode. It's just a great synergy. So Changeling, amazing unit, especially if you have a Sotheby. Whereas Tooth Fairy, just general splashable, good to pull for anyone type character. Now, we do have some other characters that I want to browse through before we go ahead and look at the banners that are new 6 stars coming to. One being Black Dwarf, a mental mineral damage dealer, just an all-round general good damage dealer. If you want to look at teams for these characters as well, I'm not sure if it's in their character profile itself or if over in the teams, but you can also already go look at guides over here on Pride Win. You can look at team building and you can get an idea for some of the teams that may be getting used with these characters as well. If we come down here to the CN version, as you can see, this is your poison type team meta. And then this is going to be your Black Dwarf type team where we've got my puppy. Pickles. Don't get me started on Pickles. We'll talk about Pickles in a sec. But you can always come over here if you want to explore more about these characters as well and take a look. But let's jump back over. So we have Black Dwarf as well as a new 6-star character coming to the game. Melania, I'm not sure how we're supposed to say it. She's a really cool character that I think if the game had PvP, I would definitely pick her up. But she's coming in 1.1, so I'm not gonna. She has like Moxie ceiling and stuff, which I really like. We have Shaman, he's just good at amplifying all damage. I love supporters that can deal damage, so he can deal some really nice damage himself. But then he also has the mass debuff, all damage taken by all enemies by 10%, and reduces their reality and mental defense by 15%. I love these splashable supporters, debuffers, where when we look at either Beacon Bloom or, dude, I've forgotten the chick's name, the other one that does the mental debuff. It's basically those two combined. You just get damage on everything. Really nice supporting unit as well. Like I said, most of the new coming units are pretty just all round decent, good units. And then we have Pickles. Pickles is a very generous on the AP type character. Just a great support that's very splashable and, like I said, fairly generous, because if we look over here, if the caster has not acted this round, gains 1 layer of this thing, which is just too much for me to read. And then when it's triggered, he gains 1 Moxie. So he's that kind of character that is going to want to be acting every second turn, essentially. And just with all-around decent damage, along with supportive capabilities as well. When we look at this one, deals damage, increases the damage dealt of all allies by 30% for 2 rounds. And that's just flat damage increase. Like I said, I like the supporters that aren't specific to one type of damage and they can just go in anything. Pickles, it's a cool puppy. I'm going to pull for him on my alt account probably because it's just too cute, man. It's just too cute. But that is that. Let's go back over to the guide, look at the banners. Like I said, the 2 main ones that I would be looking at for most players would be Changeling if you have Sotheby. Keep in mind, Sotheby is on the standard banner, so you can eventually get her too. And Tooth Fairy. However, we still have Shaman, Pickles, both really solid general splashable supports. And then we've got Black Dwarf as well. But let's go over into these guides, into the banners, and take a look at the banners because we can talk about 5 stars. Now, the other thing is we do have banners, which are kind of like the banners we currently have in the game with Sotheby and A-Knight, where they are standard banner characters, but they get their own rate up. Now, they share a pity with the new characters when they come on their banners, but I personally, I after like the reroll process, getting A-Knight, Sotheby, whatever you wanted, I'm not really going to roll on any of the other banners. I'll talk about them, some that maybe people would want to roll on, but you know, I'd rather get new characters personally because I can always get those other ones off the standard banner. Like I said, Melania, she's got Balloon Party as well, which isn't too bad if you want to pull a couple copies to try and get the 5-star. Voyager, I'd skip, even though Dickie's not too bad. But Voyager, even though she's decent as well, once again, standard banner unit. Then we have the Pickles banner, which we do have Baby Blue as well. So if you're looking for an extra supportive character, Baby Blue is a mental support character. She's basically the Beacon Bloom of mental. And, you know, if you don't get Pickles, but you get her, at least you got something for a mental team in that aspect. We then got Druvis. Don't really like the 2 5-stars on her banner. And Druvis, even though she's all right with the petrification, I wouldn't recommend it. Again, we've got another standard banner character with Lilia. I love Lilia, but I'm not going to recommend people to roll on this one. Then we get to Tooth Fairy. Like I said, Tooth Fairy, amazing. Plus, we have Beacon Bloom on that banner, which is absolutely insane. So that one is just a great banner to roll on. Then we have Regulus, Dickie, and Balloon Party. So if you're lacking a healer by the time this comes out, maybe you do a couple temples, just try and get that and then stop before you hit the pity. Then we have the Changeling. Now, unfortunately, Changeling's 5 stars. I'm not a massive fan of, but her herself, like I said, absolute must pull. So for me on my main account, I am saving for Tooth Fairy and Changeling. Hopefully I can get them both and I'll be pretty set up. Then we have this one here with Ann and Lee. Now, the thing about this banner is it's quite solid. Now, Ann and Lee is like one of the best supports from the standard banner. And like, even though I said I don't recommend pulling for those units, if you still really need a solid support, more free to play, I probably wouldn't, but spenders, it could, like light spenders, it could give you an option because then you could have a chance at getting Ann and Lee, who's a fantastic support. But we also have Charlie on the banner, and Charlie, you really want at least 3 dupes of, and then she becomes a DPS comparable to 5-star DPS. So it's honestly a pretty decent banner to roll on for a standard banner unit. That's my thoughts around that one. It's honestly not bad out of all of them. And then we go back here. Once again, Baby Blue is a debuff, and we got Eternity. It doesn't quite have the oomph for me like this one does, so I wouldn't recommend it. Then we have Shaman. You do have Tenant on this banner as well, who is a good shielder / supportive unit to help amplify damage as well. But, you know, basically you're pulling on this one for Shaman, and like I said, he's a good general support. I'm going to see where I'm at with summons, how many I have saved and stuff like that when he drops, and it also depend if we get any other units on CN by the time Global gets him, so I know if I want to save for something else instead. But this is the other one that we do have, which is Centurion. Now this is the other one that I can see some people maybe wanting. Centurion still being very meta in CN to this day, even though she is a standard banner unit. If you hadn't managed to pull her yet, her along with Ann Lee are the only two that I could really see viability in pulling on standard banner rate up units. And then we have Black Dwarf, like I mentioned. Also, we have a Balloon Party there. By this stage, you're probably looking to get dupes of Balloon Party as your healer. You're not really looking for your first healer. Otherwise, you've just had the God Awful account, and that's pretty much it. Then the final two we have are Medicine Pocket. Honestly, a debuffer for mental over here and a debuffer for reality over here, which are both solid. Maybe if you wanted dupes on them, you could do a couple pulls and avoid the pity, but you really don't. I mean, Medicine Pocket is a good healer, but I feel like this was a banner that maybe people would go for, the dupes of these two. Maybe. I'm not too sure. It depends where we're at by the time that comes around. And then we got Miss New Babel. I'm waiting to see if she gets a viable comp because I really like the dogs. I like the playstyle, but unfortunately, she isn't quite viable yet. So that is a look at all the banners. That's my thoughts. Like I said, Changeling, Tooth Fairy are the two main ones I'm looking at. I'm going to shut up now. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.